Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta, no matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be. Thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. It's game day, so there's a lot to talk about with one of our favourites. Let's rock and roll.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
Welcome back to Squad Central. It is an unusual 3 p.m. kickoff, just like in real football for Highbury Squad. So many of you will be listening on replay. Thank you for making us part of your day. And to all those on our audio platform, welcome, welcome. Back to Squad Central, one of my favourite humans, Mr. Dan Pottsy.
Come on, big up to everybody. Make sure you're smashing the likes and subscribes on the Highbury Squad with Sophie and the gang. Big up to all of you squaddies. Happy Christmas to you all as well. I'm feeling quite Christmassy this year, but you look a hell of a lot more Christmassy than I do. Trust me. So big up to you. So thanks for having me on, mate.
Always, always. Christmas makes for a great backdrop. So I'm making full use of it while I can. Also, by the way, a yellow card for me. I was all set to go, rocking and rolling with Dan. Yellow card for me for being late.
Both of us, really. I was a bit late as well, so I'll take one as well.
You were a bit late, but I'm going to show some accountability and responsibility, maybe unlike some people at the Arsenal Football Club, which we'll get into. My mic and camera just went dead. So here we are. Anyway, it is game day. We're going to get to the Carabao Cup at the very end. It is another episode of Get Off The Pottsy. Welcome, squaddies, at ease. Tammy, listen to our chief like officer. This comment before we even went live kind of got me. These topics against Arteta are very wrong. Arteta is not the problem. Please change this, Highbury Squad. You are bringing an unsettled environment in the Arsenal camp. We are supposed to support them. I wish I had that much power. You know why? Because mostly on Highbury Squad, our content is very positive. And I tell you what, if I yielded that much power, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys. It is not an Arteta out show. It is an exploration and a conversation about the DNA of the football club currently and what we think about where the importance and relevance is being put. So welcome, Ziwa, and I hope that you've stayed tuned for the whole show. Donna Potts, Mrs. Potts, welcome to Squad Central. Carol is here. And let's see who else is here. We've got Runs with Cows is here. BBK's here. Mark's here. Whole fam jam's here. Welcome everybody who is listening. Right, Pottsy. I reached out to Pottsy yesterday because there's a fascinating conversation brewing for me. I was listening to a show that you were on, and I think it was a gals show, and and you guys were having a conversation towards the very end about Saliba and importance and Arteta. And I think Igal threw the question out for full transparency here as to how this conversation was spawned for the show today is, who's more important or who would you be willing to keep, like Saliba or Arteta? So it got me thinking about the importance of everybody at the club. But point number one on Get Off The Pottsy this month is Mikel more important than the players, Dan?
Well, he shouldn't be. And the player shouldn't be more important than the manager. The manager shouldn't be more important than the players. The most important thing is the football club, right? And I do think that there has been quite a lot of not a large section, but definitely a section of the fan base that are Arteta fans now and not Arsenal fans now. And I think we need to be realistic about where we're at. And we need to just be real with the fact that we should be Arsenal fans, not manager fans. Otherwise, if Arteta leaves, you're going to go and follow him, right? And go and follow his career. And I do think that is quite damning when you look at that question. So is he more important than the players? I think he is probably one of, if not the most important person at the football club in the Kroenkes' eyes. So I think the Kroenkes see Mikel Arteta as the Sean McVay of the Rams. I think they see him as the guy that is going to lead them to glory, or lead us to glory, should I say. And I feel that there is quite a lot of the fan base that are behind that and believe that if Arteta believes it's a good signing, it's a good thing. If Arteta believes Partey's a right back, he's a right back. If Arteta believes Havertz is going to be the Thierry Henry, he's the Thierry Henry. And I don't quite know why that is. Now, I've got no problem with people believing that Mikel Arteta is the guy. I've got no problems with people believing that he's not the guy. What I do have a problem with is when there is evidence in front of your eyes and you're still not looking at it. That's what I don't get. So when there is the question, do you like what you see from Mikel Arteta? A lot of people that I speak to that I believe are real Arsenal fans that go home and away, that have supported the club for years, say, yeah, I do quite like Mikel Arteta. Don't think he's going to get us across the line, though, because the evidence proves that he can't. Now, I don't think that's negative at all. I think that's actually quite a factual statement. Now, if he actually says, up yours, I'm going to go win a Champions League and a Premier League, then we can then go, wow, I didn't think this guy was the guy. He's got us across the line. What I don't really understand is, like the comment right at the top of this show, it seems there is a massive, massive objection or debate or topic at the moment about how you should support Arsenal. You should believe in this man. You should believe that Havertz is the guy. You should believe that Jesus is not finished. You should believe that Sterling put that window to an 8 out of 10 window. You should believe that Zinchenko and Tomiyasu are just unlucky with injuries. They have a massive future at the club. You should believe that Kieran Tierney is a waste man and can't invert, so he needs to be treated like this. You should believe that everything this guy does is right. And you should believe that he shouldn't be laughed at for saying that charity shields matter. I don't get that. I think all of those could be question marks as to why perhaps things aren't quite going so well at the Arsenal right now. So is he the most important person at the club? I think he is, if I'm honest with you. And that comes with potentially going backwards to the Arsene Wenger days where he had all the power. And now it looks like the Cronkies are willing and happy to accept that Mikel Arteta has all the power. So, yeah, I know that's going to lead on to questions about what players may do in their futures. But I think he is more important than the players because I think the club see him as the reason those players are there and the reason those players are playing the way they have to put us in a title race for 2 years. So as far as the Cronkies are concerned, I think he is more important than the players. As far as the fan base are concerned, I think they're split.
Yeah, I think you'll find probably the majority of the fan base think that Saka is more important than Mikel Arteta. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a poll on this one, but it's interesting because, you know, you talk about the level of importance from ownership to fans. And I think that's kind of where this gets a little bit split down the middle. And we're going to tackle a few subjects that probably overlap. My second point was, do key players stay at Arsenal without a trophy? It is always about winning. I've always thought sports is about winning. We're playing in the Carabao Cup today. Dan and I have made it clear we would love to win that. And we'll get onto that as the next subject, because I think it's really important. We haven't won it since the 90s, since Super Kev was playing for the Arsenal, and galvanizing a team and making them believe they can win something and they get a taste of that with 3 months to go in the season is important. But let's just put our what if hat on. Do key players stay, Dan, if Arsenal don't win major trophies?
The reason that I have to say no is because I've seen this movie 3 times already. Actually, that's a lie. I've seen it 2 times already, and this could be the 3rd time. So the reason I would say that, yeah, potentially they would go is because Fabregas ended up going, Van Persie ended up going, Sanchez ended up going, and we lost most of the others to Manchester City. All of them went on and did what, Sophie? They did that. And they can look back at their Arsenal career. And when I was at Highbury and growing up as a youngster, I used to think, my God, every time a player leaves Arsenal, it's a graveyard for them. Now, I mean, I've got evidence there of Anelka, who, let's be real, yeah, he did well at Chelsea, but he had about 8 clubs before he actually settled in at Chelsea. He was going to Manchester City, Bolton, Fenerbahce, Liverpool, all these players these teams that he went to and he couldn't sell. Mark Overmars and Petit pretty much retired when they left Arsenal. They went to Barcelona and then both got sold. And Petit ended up trying to get in the first team at Chelsea. And then you look at what happened when we moved, even Vieira, to be fair to him. I know that he went and did well when he left it, but he ended up in Manchester City trying to win them a title. So I look at that and I think, yeah, fair play. Then from 2006 onwards, everybody that left Arsenal were leaving for different reasons. It was lack of ambition. Their ambition did not match the club's ambition. The club's ambition was, Ashley Cole, we're going to offer you this amount of money. I don't really want to play next to Senderos and Dinilson. I'd rather go and play with Lampard, Cech and Terry. So I'm going to go over there and win everything with Chelsea. That's a disgrace in 2006. And that's nothing to do with Arteta, by the way. That's the mentality of the club back then. David Dean walked out, and for whatever reason, that thing started to go a little bit downwards. We lost Vieira and Ashley Cole. And then the ambitions of the team was we're going to try and win with young players like Fabregas and Van Persie, both of which said, you're not matching the ambition here. So I'm going to get out. Adebayor, Toure, Clichy, Sagna, Nasri all did the same thing. And then Alexis Sanchez does exactly the same thing. Now, some of those didn't work out. Some of them did. Alexis Sanchez, I wouldn't say worked out. If I'm honest, I thought it was a terrible move to go to Manchester United. He said that he regretted it. But of all the others actually ended up winning stuff. Van Persie won with United. Fabregas won with Chelsea and Barcelona. All the others won with Man City. So this will happen again if we don't win trophies. They are not all staying at Arsenal for the next 10 years because of Mikel Arteta. They're staying because they believe that as the young team grows, they will be the one that they'll be there ready to compete. And we've proven that we can challenge. It's about creating across the line now. And if you don't, look, let's just pick Saliba to start with. He is the one that will probably end up. He will go to Real Madrid. I just hope it isn't now. He will end up at Real Madrid, and he deserves to play at Real Madrid, by the way. He's that good. But I hope it's when he's 28, not when he's 25. That's all I'm saying. So if we want to stop players like that leaving, we need to win trophies. We absolutely need to win them now, because otherwise he'll go to Real Madrid sooner. Because I've got no doubt he'll be a Real Madrid player from 28 onwards. But we need to keep him until 28 at the bare minimum at Arsenal. And the only way you're going to do that is by winning trophies. And it's the same with Saka and Ødegaard and all these guys that all love the club now and they love what it's about and all this kind of stuff. I truly do believe that if they are only here for Mikel Arteta, I'm not really for that, mate. I want them to be here for Arsenal Football Club, not because they like the manager.
So there's a couple of roll-offs on here, right?
Yeah.
And I'll roll off to this one because this was going to be one of my last ones. And that was, if Mikel Arteta goes, do the players go too? And I'm so with you on this one, because this is Arsenal Football Club. Mikel doesn't pay your wages. Arsenal Football Club pay your wages. When you score goals and you kiss the badge, in a game celebrating, you're kissing the badge, the crest. You're not kissing Mikel Arteta. Influence is huge, though, in sports. Managers, coaches have massive influences on players. A lot of them follow their manager wherever they go. I think we're all hoping that there's not going to be a Gyökeres following his manager in the summer, but these things do happen and they have a massive influence on careers. You could even say that maybe Saka has a very special relationship with Mikel Arteta, and Ødegaard as well. When I interviewed him during the Euros, you could sense there's an emphasis on his leadership, his importance, and you never want a manager to be bigger than the club. I think it works for a long time. It worked for Sir Alex Ferguson. It worked for Arsene Wenger. It worked in a time and an era where I think, there wasn't that instant gratification in football. So what's your take then on that? Because you mentioned at the tail end, and I just want you to kind of riff off that a little bit with regards to players leaving if a manager leaves. Arsenal have to be bigger than that, Dan.
Facts. And I like to think that we are the third biggest club in England. Some people think it's Chelsea and City that have overtaken us now. I'd argue till I'm blue in the face that that's not the case. Although they have the European trophy, we have more trophies, and that's ultimately essentially what you're built on and what you're judged on, right? It's by what you win, and we've got more trophies than Chelsea and Manchester City. Look, I would ask the people that believe that if Mikel goes, the whole team goes. Did that happen with Jose Mourinho when he left? Did Terry and Lampard and Makelele and Drogba all go, well, that's it then, guys. It's been a pleasure. Or did they just go and win with Carlo Ancelotti and with Antonio Conte as well? And you could say that probably about Sir Alex Ferguson as well, because they won the league in 2013 and he retired. What did Rooney go? Well, that's me then. Take care, everyone. I'm off. No, he stayed and he won trophies with other managers. So if those players love Arsenal the way that the fans are screaming and shouting their names out because they believe they genuinely love the club, they will go. Whether the Cronkies go, whether Arteta goes, they will stay because they love Arsenal. And if they don't stay, it means that we don't want players like that. I like this guy. I like this manager because he's given me my opportunity. So I'm going to go where he goes. I'm going to follow him to so and so. Go for it, mate. Good riddance. Take care. Because this manager is, the reason this manager will leave is because he isn't good enough, essentially, or he decides he's not good enough and he walks. They're the only two reasons. Either going to get sacked, which I don't think is going to happen, or he gets to the end of the season and thinks, you know what, I feel like I've underachieved. I've given it a great crack. I'm not going to sign a new deal. I'm out of contract now. I'm off. Take care. Do you think the players will go, oh, Mikel, don't wait, I'm coming with you? Or are they going to stay and go, right, okay, we've got a new manager coming in. Let's see what we do. And they'll give them that go. I genuinely would be really disappointed if there's players that are going, right, well, we're off with him then, because if you fans don't believe in him, then we're off as well. I don't think it works like that, football. It didn't with Jose. It didn't at Manchester United, at Chelsea. It hasn't with Manchester City, if you think about it. A lot of people say Pep's been there too long. But really and truly, David Silva and Yaya Toure and Vincent Kompany, they didn't leave with Pellegrini and Mancini. They stayed with Pep. So...
And a more recent example is there's a lot of Liverpool players who could have left when Klopp left. And
great, even better example.
Yeah, because that is definitely more recent. And the thing, I think Mikel Arteta, though, Dan, is regardless of winning at Arsenal, if it gets to a point where he feels that he can't, and maybe, he doesn't get the investment that he wants, he's a very hireable manager. I think that there are top 5 clubs in Europe that would hire him without even winning at Arsenal. That's another debate for another day. But I do think that he has the pull right now to walk into, other than Real Madrid and maybe Barcelona right now. I think that he has the opportunity to be hired by at least 3 or 4 top European clubs based on the pedigree of what he's done rebuilding Arsenal and igniting Arsenal again. So, but we'll leave that one for another day, because
can I just say just 2 seconds on that? Because I would say and it's literally 2 seconds. Everything you've just said there is bang on. He is very employable because he's very fashionable. He is a young up and coming coach that is a good coach that will grow to be an even better coach. And he's very fashionable because he is one that can take hold of a team and mold it into where that he wants. He is a project manager. He's proven that he can take a team from 8th to a title. That is what he can do. He won't win them the title, it seems, at the moment, unless he can this season. But for me, there needs to be a genuine sort of respect for the job that he has done to get us challenging. Not a respect for what he wins, because you got to win it, but a definite respect for what he can do to challenge. And if there was a team, I don't know, let's just say that it's away from here. Let's say that he picks up maybe Seville or Valencia or someone like that over in Spain, and he gets them from where they are now, similarly to how Joby Alonso did with Bayer Leverkusen, to X to Y. And I think that is, for me, how I believe he will be respected. And that's why I think he will be employable should he leave Arsenal, when he eventually leaves Arsenal one day.
Yeah, I agree about the fashionable part. And a couple of people spat out their tea when I said that. I'm not saying that he can keep a job, because any other club probably would have sacked Mikel Arteta by now. And I'm not saying that I want him sacked by any stretch of the imagination. He's done a phenomenal job. But I think that if he was at Chelsea, or if he was at City, if he was at Bayern Munich or Juventus or, Barcelona or any of those clubs, he's getting the sack. There's only 2 managers right now that feel Teflon in their job, and that is Mikel Arteta and Diego Simeone. And of course, Carlo Ancelotti, if he doesn't deliver a Champions League this year or La Liga, he'll be out. But I could see him, like if Vincent Kompany tanks at Bayern Munich, I could totally see a Bayern Munich coming in for Mikel Arteta. Whether or not he would keep that job, absolutely not, because some big clubs are very ruthless in their hiring of their manager and dependent on what they do, Dan. So this
PSG
is why
is another one. PSG is another one, I think.
PSG, yeah, definitely. This is a big game, I think, today. And people kind of will poo-poo it and say, it's the Carabao Cup. We need to be shooting, bigger than that. Well, sometimes you've got to, land on the moon before you shoot for the stars. And you and I feel very strongly about putting our best foot forward in the domestic cups. Mikel hasn't done that since he's won the FA Cup. We've reached one semi-final against Liverpool a couple seasons ago. Now, is winning the Carabao Cup enough for a Saliba? I'm going to throw Ødegaard and Saka in there as well, but big time players. It's good enough for me because what I would like to see, Dan, is if they do win, like I said at the top of the show, they get a taste of what that's like. and they galvanize each other and they want it more. Winning becomes addictive. We don't have an addictive winning personality. It has been far from that. And Mark, I know, mentioned the FA Cups at some point in the live chat earlier, but FA Cups isn't going to do it when you're sitting in international dressing rooms and you're seeing your mates lift Champions Leagues and lift titles. What say you about this one, Dan?
Yeah, so I would answer this one a little bit differently. So if there were our world-class players, or our best players, should I say, because some don't think we have world-class players. If our best players are looking at it going, right, if we don't win that Carabao Cup, I'm leaving. I don't think we're at that stage yet, but I do think that we're out. If we're not competing for trophies, then maybe I need to start getting itchy feet. And that's the stage I think that we're at. Now, the Carabao Cup doesn't mean, well, there's your trophy, now shut up and you're here for another 5 years. I don't think it works like that. But what it certainly can do is it can actually breed a little bit of confidence and install some winning mentality into the squad. And that is exactly what this squad it needs, and the only thing that's missing from it. Because let's just be real, Soph, we've got a good team. This is not a bozo team. This isn't a team that we're trying to put together. It's full of absolute nightmare players that we've had in the past, where we're trying to decide between Mustafi and Socrates who's your best centre half is, and where you're trying to look at the striker option as, Yaya Sanogo or bloody Franny Jeffers and all the other guys that we've had before, and you can laugh at. This is a good side. This is a very good team, but it hasn't won anything yet, and it needs to. And this is the season that it needs to. It's time to deliver now. And if you deliver a trophy in March, which is, I think, when the final is, that gives you more confidence, not to go and win just the Premier League, but it gives you more of a winning mentality and an understanding, a little bit of confidence, a little bit of momentum to go and do it again in May, whether it's an FA Cup, whether it's the Champions League, or whether it's the Premier League. And when you do that, it is no coincidence that Pep and Jose Mourinho won the most. And it is no coincidence that once they won them FA Cups and them League Cups, they went on to win either an FA Cup or a Premier League after it. That's just the way I see it. And Jose Mourinho always took it seriously. Pep Guardiola always taken it seriously. Arsene Wenger never did. Jurgen Klopp, to be fair, took it fairly seriously, but never to ahead of the Champions League or Premier League. Mikel Arteta has never taken it seriously. And he hasn't taken the FA Cup seriously since he's won it either. Because look at the teams that we've been going out to, these teams. We've been going out to Brightons, to Forests, to Leicesters, to Southamptons. Yes, we lost to City and Liverpool. And that, to be fair, I gave him a little bit of sympathy for, because we could have had him in the final and lost. They're that good, right? We've got Manchester United in the FA Cup again, the first round this time. But I look at it and I think, yeah, domestic cups, you need to take them seriously. And if we did get to a stage where we have an actual winning season, there's been some fan bases that have said, I don't care, that's not enough. Now, for me, I love the League Cup because I grew up on winning it, right? But some people haven't. Some people in their early 20s, late teens have been told that this competition is a complete and utter waste of time and it's a worthless cup. But not for me, it's not. So, yeah, I'd love to win it.
Yeah, very well said. And I agree with you completely. I think it's really fundamentally important this season. Some of these players may have won elsewhere, other clubs, but collectively they've won nothing. This is not the FA Cup team. We've moved on years from that now. Yep. And I think it's really, really important that they find a way to beat Palace, get to the semi-final. And, the infusion of that energy takes us to the next level between confidence and believing you can close. That's the difference. Can you close the deal? It's like Glengarry Glen Ross, the Alec Baldwin speech, always be closing. And we haven't been able to do that. And I think if we do, it could change the mindset and the mental of this team. Right. So, Pottsy, let's talk about, we've talked about players. Do they stay? If the manager goes, trophies, what kind of trophy keeps a player? The importance of Mikel versus the players. Signings. Let's say we do not win a trophy this season. And we've seen previously, I think the Declan Rice signing came on the up, where players really believed, okay, the improbable season, we didn't win it. Now we've signed Declan Rice. We can go on and close the deal. A mega signing for the club, a landmark signing, a statement signing, one of the biggest signing in Arsenal history. Does signing a star player keep others at the club, even if we don't win trophies? Now, don't have a conniption, everyone. I've included Marcus Rashford in here The Rashford rage is real, Pottsy. I know your boy on the left there and on the right there, if you're looking at the screen, are two players that you've talked about. If you're listening on audio, it's Gyökeres and Williams. But Rashford is included in this mix. I don't think Rashford is a finished player, but we'll get to that. Do you think a star signing, a striker, a left-sided player, another midfielder, a left back, whatever it is, and I'm talking a star signing, not some young kid who I've watched week in, week out for the last season, like a Gabriel Peck from LA Galaxy, who I think can become a star. What's your take on this?
So to keep the fan base happy, other than winning, the only other thing that keeps us happy is signing star players. I don't know if it works like that with players, because essentially when you join a football club, it's because you believe they are on the verge of winning trophies, or are only a couple of years away from winning them, or they are currently winning them, right? So I think when the players come to Arsenal, I don't think Declan Rice came to Arsenal because Martin Ødegaard was there. I don't think he came to Arsenal because Saliba and Saka were there. I think he came to Arsenal because he believed that we were going to be winning trophies. What I will say to kind of counteract that is I kind of think you need both, Soph. I kind of think you need both. Because if I was to say to you now, which club would you like to join? Looking at football right now, you probably wouldn't say Manchester City because of how bad they're playing, right? And if it was that, you would look at who's winning trophies and which players do I want to play with. They are the two things that players look at. So everybody would say Real Madrid because they're the biggest in the world and no one touches them, no one comes near them. They win trophies every single year. If it's not a Champions League, it's normally La Liga or not, if not both. And also what you get there is you go, oh my God, I'm going to get the opportunity to go and play with Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, Camavinga, the list goes on, right? And next season, I know for a fact their back four they want is Alphonso Davies and Trent on 3 and Gabriel and Saliba as their 2 centre-halves. So watch this space, people. That's what people want. I know, shivers, right? Because that is probably the best back 4 in the world right now. Anyway, if that gets put together. Anyway, look, I think that there's both, really, Sophie, is the best way to answer it. I don't think that star players are enough to keep players at the club, but I do think it helps. And trophies are what people want to be winning. And people want to be playing Champions League football. And I think it depends on where your career path is as well. If you're a 32-year-old that's got 2 years left, like Mo Salah, at the top of his level, he's want to go and win now. If you're a 20-year-old, you might look at differently and think, right, who's playing there? Who's going to fit my mold? Actually, yeah, but Bukayo Saka's over there. He's similar to me. I could actually get behind that. And they look like they're about to win trophies. It needs to be that last bit as well. Looks like they're about to win or looks like they are winning. And it's got to be trophies. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it.
Hit the like button, you guys. This is a great conversation with Dan and on his take on kind of digging a little bit into the DNA, player manager, acquisitions, importance. We've got a few more minutes here. Dan's going to go off to the game tonight. But Dan, I have to ask you the question, and everyone in chat is letting their feelings know. Here's what I find really crazy. And there's almost 300 of you in live chat, like kiss the like button, right? Just kiss it once, because if you do it twice, it won't work. Dan, I don't like, right, how we've got a very short memory in football. It was just 2 seasons ago where Marcus Rashford, albeit in a contract year, playing lights out, I think he scored 30 goals in 40 something games. This, like Kevin De Bruyne, right? All of a sudden he's finished. Like, people forget. And if he went out this weekend and scored a goal and made 3 assists, everyone would be like, oh, he's still the greatest. People are also labeling him the greatest midfielder that's ever played in the Premier League. Like, we forget the history as much as we tend to just kind of remember what we want, right? If he goes to play for LA Galaxy next season, he's a finished player. He's done. But really, just 6 months ago, you were saying he's the best player ever and he could still do it at the top level. Like, it sounds like, it sounds to me that it's this, Gabriel Jesus, Zinchenko. We now consider them, many fans consider them finished players, right? I don't think they're finished players. I just think it's a case of they're finished at this club. We've seen players go on, like Sterling. Has Sterling really been given a chance and an opportunity for us to call him a finished player? There's something else going on there, right? he was winning championships, he was winning leagues. Are we saying now a player's career ends at 27, 28, even 30? Thomas Partey, some fans. So I ask you the question. I've gone about it in a long way, but Marcus Rashford on the left side, is he a better option than Martinelli and Trossard? Defensively, probably not, with even Trossard. But you're looking for something, and you're looking for an option, and you're looking for maybe a cheaper deal. And Mikel is known to work miracles with players. Do you think he's an upgrade?
Okay, so I'll answer this very, very simply. I think he's one of the most overrated players in the Premier League, Marcus Rashford. And the reason I say that is because he has a lot of talent, and he has a problem with consistency, and he has a problem with having good and bad seasons. But the one problem he has the most, Soph, which is why I want to keep him clear from here, is up here. Something ain't quite right mentally. And I want mentally strong people. Listen, if he had the mentality of a James Milner or a Ashley Young or a Jordan Henderson, I would be getting him in the door at the Arsenal, 100%, because he's got the talent. The problem is his mentality is absolutely embarrassing. Chucking his teddy out the pram, chucking his rattle out the teddy in the corner, all this kind of stuff. What does the manager do? Well, we're going to drop you, mate. We're going to play this kid called Amad Diallo. Oh, how did that work? They won the game, and he was at home sulking. That ain't someone I want at the Arsenal. I'm just going to read his stats out, by the way. He had 2 purple patches seasons, in my opinion. He's actually been playing for Manchester United in the Premier League since 2015-16, where he scored 5 goals. Well, Martinelli's already got 5, I think, this season. And he's been shocking. The season after that, another 5 goals. Season after that, 7 goals. Then he got into double figures for the first time. He got 16 goals and assists in 33 games, which I don't think is a bad sort of return for a kind of 33 games that he played. And he started to have a little bit of consistency around 2018 to 2020, where he scored 17 goals the year after, the most he's ever scored. That was in the COVID year. And I started to think maybe he's starting to find his form now. He's 24, I think he was at the time, and maybe he's now at the best that he can be. So fair play to him. And then he just dived off a cliff, and he scored 4 goals. He got 7 goals. And then he's got 4 goals. And then, of course, 22-23, the season that Arsenal were going for a title, flying, absolutely flying. He mudded it because I called him on the football terrace, Danny Welbeck, who feeds kids. That's what I called him. And it went viral and everyone said it was harsh. But I honestly don't believe he's any better than what Danny Welbeck has been, right? I just don't. I don't look at him and think, wow, Danny Welbeck has had a shocking career as comparison to Rashford. But you look at the terms of the actual ability of Rashford and Welbeck, Rashford should be levels, right? But he hasn't been. He had that purple patch where he got another 17 goals. So he's had 2 seasons where he got 17 goals from left wing, which is good, really good. But that's in 10 that he's been playing for Manchester United. Now, I don't think it's been easy for him at Manchester United, if I'm honest with you, because I do believe personally, yeah, you're right, by the way, in the chat, Danny Welbeck still is balling. You're right. But I look at it now and I think that there's an opportunity for us to look at Danny Welbeck, Marcus Rashford. Again, both mixed up now. I'll do this myself. Marcus Rashford, I think now would probably be what Arsenal do not need when it comes to a left winger. I don't want somebody coming in and going, do you know what? He could do a job. I've had that so many times. He could do a job, He could do a job. I want someone to take us across the line. I've got players who can do the job. Trossard can do a job. Martinelli can do a job. Sterling apparently could do a job because I was told that he can come in and do a job. Jesus, he can do a job apparently. Havertz, he can do a job. He's a good squad player. He can do a job. Some people are telling me he's the best number 9 that we've got at the moment. Maybe he is. I don't want players that could do a job, so I want someone to come in and take us to the next level. And Anthony Gordon, a Kvaratskhelia, Rafael Leao, somebody like that who's going to come on the left-hand side. Up top, Alexander Isak, Victor Gyökeres. This is the equivalent now of saying, do you know what? Maybe we should try and go and get Dominic Calvert-Lewin up top because he can do a job. He can do a job. No, we don't want Dominic Calvert-Lewin, do we? So why do we want Rashford? It's not for. I think what we do sometimes, we're obsessed. This fan base, it seems. He could get the best. Arteta can get the best. Name an attacker that Arteta's got the best out of, please. I'm all ears because I can think of one.
Saka, yeah,
right.
But season, January till May last season, you want consistency. But January till May last season, Havertz was top 3, one our best players. Saka, Ødegaard, Havertz. And Martinelli's regressed, so I get why you're asking the question. And Trossard has regressed. this season.
I think some of that is the style of play as well. I don't think it's just his coaching with that individual. I think some of the style has definitely not been too good for us on the left-hand side. But I look at what I'm seeing from his attacking players in the last 5 years, and I'm out. It's fair enough saying Saka and a little bit of Havertz, but that's really poor return because there's about 9 or 10 players that we can go through that he just hasn't got the best out of. I didn't see anything from Lacazette. Aubameyang got told he was toxic and had to leave. We had Pepe, we've had Reece Nelson, we've had Ian Nketiah, we've had Gabriel Jesus, we've had Willian, and then you're now looking at the guys we've got now, which is the Trossard, Martinelli and Havertz situation. Saka and Ødegaard, no doubt. You can throw Ødegaard into the mix, actually, because I know he's not a winger or a striker, but I would put him in there because I think he's that important in terms of our kind of creativity, and I think he's that pivotal. But really, when you're looking at Saka as being the only one, that's not a good return, Soph. So he's got to, and the reason I'm bringing that up isn't because, oh my God, he can't get the best out of anyone. Why would people think he can get the best out of Rashford when he hasn't been able to get the best out of all of those players? Plus Raheem Sterling's another one now I can add to the list. Like, how is that? Like, why is that? There's something wrong there with his attacking style, clearly.
I agree. I agree with that. And I agree with BX and also with Milind in that. And a few others have said it over the last couple of weeks of our show. Everything's regressed at the same time, apart from Saka, right? And you could say in spurts, Timber's been really good. Ødegaard kind of showed us in that West Ham game why we missed him so much. Saliba's been solid. David Raya early on in the season was one of our best players. Thomas Partey probably having one of his better seasons at the Arsenal. But if you want to win the title, you've got to be playing lights out week in, week out. That's what top quality players do. And right now, Saka's the only one doing that. He sucked the creative life out of this team. That's the problem, Dan. They don't feel free. They can't play fluid. It's not the way he wants to play. And then you see the way we played against West Ham. We did it for 35 minutes. We can't play like that for two halves. And I think part of the problem is the modern day game is sucking the life out of the exciting player that gets you up off your feet and makes you like clap and cheer and do all these things. The dribblers are gone. And it's really quite stifling for the likes of Martinelli and Trossard. I don't blame them entirely. When Martinelli's being asked to do so much defensively, they play fearful, not fearless. And that's a really big difference this season for this Arsenal team. Someone I read, I don't know where I read it, but someone said, with Maresca, you look at the Chelsea team, when they're 1-0 up, they're going for the kill, they're going for more goals. That was us, a season and a half ago? Now we go 1-0 up. We play not to lose instead of to go on to win. And that is a huge, huge deal for the creative players going forward. And then maybe you could say, well, then why can Saka do it? Well, Saka also at times, I'm sorry, don't come at me, is a little predictable, and he does need that energy from the players around him, which sometimes he gets and sometimes he doesn't. He's been able to do two things. He can turn on his left and score a wonder goal, but that doesn't happen all the time, does it? He's such a special, integral, important part of the team. But once again, we've reverted back to putting Arsenal on his shoulders. And I thought we were way past that, Dan. Way past that.
Agree. And look, I don't know how I can add any more to what you've said than that. I think you're absolutely spot on. And I do get kind of frustrated a little bit with how some of especially over this weekend where sort of we've had friends of mine and other Arsenal content creators that have had head loss moments and stuff like that, and they've looked at the reasons why. I asked the question, why is that? Like, some people start to look at it and think it's over the top and, oh my God, it's still only not even Christmas and all that kind of stuff. And I get that, but I must say, winning cures all. And that's what Super Kev used to say. Winning cures all. Like, real talk, it does. And when you're winning football games, it really doesn't matter. When you lose a football game, it's a head loss moment. And I'll give you a quick example of that. The first game of the season at the Emirates, we won 2-0 against Wolves, if you remember.
I was there for that one.
There you go. You was there, right? Kai Havertz got throttled on the floor, basically, by the Wolves centre-half, if you remember it. Nothing was said about it. If we would have lost or drew that game, trust me, we would have been talking about it. Because when we drew to Brighton, it was, oh my God, what a disgrace about the red card. If we would have won that game and Havertz does his job and puts it in, which he was doing at the back end of last season, we win the game 2-1. Everyone goes, bit of a crazy red card, but that's the way it is. We win the game at the Etihad with 10 seconds to go, and someone actually wakes up and doesn't allow that short corner to come in. We win the game 2-1. Nobody's talking about Trossard smashing the ball up in the air and the red card and the referee and the corruption from Mikel Arteta. That's the fine margins. Martinelli delivers an unbelievable cross at Craven Cottage, but because he was offside, he's now a scapegoat and an absolute disgrace of a human being. That's the fine margins of football. And some people might think that's harsh, but that is the game, Soph. That is where it's at. Some people might think it's harsh. And you know what? Maybe it is a little bit harsh. But when you are fine margins as a fan, we're the emotional ones. We take the emotion out of it sometimes. We discuss it on here and it's good therapy. But I do get a bit annoyed with this section of the fan base that seem to think there is a way to support this club and you have to be a good little fan and sit on your hands and just say, oh, yes, Stan Kroenke, you're doing a very good job. Or, yes, Mikel, you're doing the best. If you don't think they are, say it. What's wrong with that? It's not crime. You can say, actually, do you know what? I love where they've taken us. Do you reckon they're going to get us across the line? Oh, of course they are. You're so negative about it. Do you hope you believe in them? Don't you think? Well, actually, no, I don't, actually. I don't think we are going to get us across. I don't actually think we are. Why do you have to have an argument about it? Why can't you just explain to each other normally as adults why you believe we are the best team in the world, or why you, Harry, don't think that we are, or you, Fred, think that we're brilliant? Talk about it. Let's talk about it. It used to be in pubs before social media, which is incredibly toxic now, by the way, social media. It's absolutely vital, in fact, when you go on there sometimes. But when you look at it, that's where I'm at, if I'm honest with you. So, yeah.
Interesting you used the Harry as an example for a name. I like how you went there.
Do you know what I did? I used Harry and then I said, you don't believe in what's happening. And I'm thinking, actually, that's the other way around. Harry definitely does believe what's going on. So big up to Harry, man.
It would have been hilarious if your other example was Tom.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Brilliant stuff from Pottsy. 300 plus in live chat. Please hit that like button. Very kind of you to join us at the early kickoff. Get your comments in the YouTube section as well. Is Mikel more important than the players? Do players stay at Arsenal without a trophy? Is winning the Carabao Cup enough for Saliba? Does signing a star player keep others at the club without a trophy? And if Mikel were to leave, would core players follow? Also, before we leave with Dan having the final word, football prizes, there's a new competition. Please go to footballprizes.co.uk. Get your ticket today. It is only 39p for this one. There are a lot more tickets, but the prize is the biggest they've had ever. It is a 2-person hospitality treat at the Emirates for the North London Derby. That's right. You and your best mate could be going stylish to the Emirates to enjoy the North London Derby. There's also 33 other prizes to be won, including some shirts from some of your favorite players, from Ian Wright to Overmars, Dennis Bergkamp, and a whole bunch more. So please go visit them today and get your ticket. That would be awesome. And don't forget, if you're still looking for a stocking stuffer, check out our mates at Zenith Coins. Use code SQUAD15 and get 15% off your coin. This is your last chance to enter the competition, the Zenith Coins Invincible giveaway, the Highbury Squad at gmail.com, the Highbury Squad at gmail.com for your funniest, sad, rad, glad story of the Invincible season. You didn't have to be there, but just experience it as a fan. And this is the last day to enter. Dan, this month's Get Off the Pottsy, you close the show. Let them have it.
Love, listen, first of all, big up to every single one of you. I probably won't see you again on Highbury Squad until after Christmas now. So big up to every single one of you and happy Christmas. Make sure you enjoy it. Spend it with your loved ones and your friends. Tell your loved ones that you love them, as Super Kev would say, and enjoy the Happy New Year as well. Do you know what? Because we are feeling cheery, because we're feeling festive, get behind what's happening tonight, people, because it is the Carabao Cup and it is a game that we have to win. In fact, it's a must-win game. And for those that don't believe it is, go and take a look at the 93 Sheffield Wednesday Cup double when we did that. Go and look at Kevin Campbell's face. Go and look at Tony Adams. Go and look at George Graham. Go and look at Martin Keown. Go and look at the individuals that won that trophy and tell me it doesn't mean anything. Enjoy it and up the Arsenal. Big up, Sophie.
Big up. Thank you, Pottsy. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Really appreciate you. And yes, I started off in the dark and now it's light. It was the crack of crack in California. Thanks to everyone who's joined. Enjoy the game tonight. Stay safe if you're going to the stadium. And as Dan said, let them have it. Enjoy every single moment. And, you know, the rules at ease, everyone. And don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. Good luck to the Arsenal tonight. Let's make the semi-final.
Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.
He's still begging for a coin. What are we going to do?